Hi, my name is Everett Mohan, but you might know me better as Aspiring Spike over on Twitch. I've been doing a lot of brewing on my channel, and I wanted to share this one over here with you guys on YouTube. I'm one of the few people still trying to make Arc-like Phoenix work in Modern. It's something I never quite gave up on. And I think I found a shell that is very powerful, well-positioned, and competitive. About 3 weeks ago, we trophied with a more traditional izzet Phoenix shell. Let me see if I can't pull that up for you guys. Playing, izzet Charm, some Charter Courses, Thing in the Ice, Aria Flame. A pretty traditional blue-red Phoenix shell that's playing izzet Charm instead of Faithless sitting. Sort of the obvious place you think that the deck would transition to. And while I think that this version is playable, I think you can certainly take it to your local Modern tournament. I don't think that it's going to be nearly the powerhouse it used to be in Modern. So I've been trying to see if we can play other cards besides Thing in the Ice, izzet Charm to make Arc-like Phoenix a little more competitive, and here's what I came up with. The two cards that we're playing instead of Aria Flame and Thing in the Ice in the main deck are Baral, Chief of Compliance, and Pyromancer's Ascension. I've had a lot of people on Twitter ask me why not play Thing in the Ice. There is a finite number of these sort of payoffs that you can play. Your main options are Baral, Chief of Compliance, Pyromancer's Ascension, Aria Flame, Thing in the Ice, Jace Friend's Prodigy, and Young Pyromancer. These are all options I've tried with Blue-Red Phoenix, but I feel like these three being Baral, Pyromancer's Ascension, and Arc-like Phoenix work together the best. Baral being really good to loot away your Phoenixes when you remand your opponent's spell or your own spell or force a negation spell. Pyromancer's Ascension being very good with Baral. It makes it easier for you to storm off, draw almost your entire deck, and either kill your opponent with lightning bolts or recurring a bunch of Phoenixes, usually a combination of the two. And Arc-like Phoenix works well with Pyromancer's Ascension because you don't have to play bad cards like Noxious Revival, copies of Lightning Helix, to deal 20 points of damage to your opponent. I'm going to discuss a few different card choices, then I'm going to show you a league I played earlier today where we 5-0'd. I have two different trophies at this point with this version of Blue-Red Phoenix. So I'm just going to discuss a few of my card choices, and then will upload the gameplay after this. So you might notice we're playing 4 Chart, of course, and no izzet Charm. While I do think izzet Charm is a playable card alongside Arc-like Phoenix, the fact that its cost is not reduced by Baral came up a lot in my initial testing, so I pretty quickly cut all izzet Charms in favor of Chart of Course. For this version, Remand is super duper powerful to return your own Manamorphoses and Lightning Bolts while you're going off with Pyromancer's Ascension. It'll get you enough mana and enough damage while you're comboing off. Finale of Promise just for a little extra oomph when you're going off with Ascension. I found sometimes I had already cast 3 Lightning Bolts by the time I was going off, and I had a hard time dealing 21. I would often get 3 Phoenixes in the yard, attack, and have to hold up a Remand. And I think Finale shores up a lot of those problems. Being able to draw into it while you're going off with Ascension, you pretty much win the game on the spot every time you cast this with an active Ascension. You get to copy the Finale and then copy each spell the Finale targets. So you get a total of 8 spells when you cast it. Super duper powerful, especially if one of those spells is a Manamorphose. And it's also just pretty powerful with Baral, having the mana cost reduced. And it's also powerful with Arc-like Phoenix, being able to have one card cast 3 spells for your Phoenix is a pretty big deal. I like one copy a lot. You can find it really consistently with your cantrips. I wouldn't play more, but I'm really happy with the first one. Let's touch on the sideboard. Super duper quick. The 4th Force Negation comes in a lot against control decks and various combo decks. I do like having access to 4 and the 75. It's possible we want to move the 4th Force back to the main deck, but I'm not really sure what we would cut in favor of that. 3 Braids, mainly for tribal decks and artifact decks. Also, this is really important if you think your opponent is going to have Dampening Spheres or Grafdigger's Cage. I would really recommend bringing these in. 3 Aria Flames. A lot of times when I play against decks like Jund, Burn, decks that can kill my Baral pretty easily, I will cut the Barals in favor of the Aria Flames. This is also a card that you should be bringing in if you are afraid of Rest in Peace in a certain matchup. You can play around Surgical Extraction and Relic of Progenitus pretty well with Pyromancer's Ascension, but Rest in Peace is hard for the deck to beat. Another thing is Aria Flame comes down and makes your opponent gain 10 life and can kill some Death Shadows. Really, really powerful effect. 2 Ashiok Dreamrenders. There's a decent amount of dredge that's Vengevine going around right now, and this card is very strong against them. This card is also very good against red-green Valakut, so I like having access to 2 copies. 1 Lightning Axe for more creature decks. It's going to kill Gurmag, Angler, Reality Smashers, Tarmogoyfs. I had 2 in my first draft, but I felt like I really didn't need 2. So I cut the second one in favor of a 3rd of Braid. 3 Dragon's Claws. I have actually been beating up on Burn, as you'll see in this video. You being able to combo off sometimes before they can empty their hand, and also having Force of Negation to stop that last burn spell from killing you comes up a lot. But that being said, Burn is super popular right now, super well positioned. I think that you should be having 3 Dragon's Claws in your sideboard. 2 Blood Moons for Valakuts, Johns, Trons. Really important sideboard card. I have been someone that's favored Alpine Moon in other decks previously, but the fact that red-green Valakut is now getting Field of the Dead and Valakut means I think that you want to be on Blood Moons if you can afford to play them. Not every deck can play Blood Moon, but I think it's a little bit better than Alpine Moon right now. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the league we played earlier today. Really excited to show you this one. Right now I'm planning on just showcasing one interesting league I played on stream during the week. And if you guys want to see more content, you can find me over on twitch.tv/aspiringspike. See you there. Tiniest little hand. Okay. Gonna keep this. I think I would like to sleight of hand to try to find a 3rd land rather than hold up Lightning Bolt in this situation. Because we kind of want to play Pyromancer's Ascension on turn 2, and then turn 3 play Baral holding up Remand. Of course, we are getting pretty punished playing against Burn with this hand. Still gonna stick to the plan. Just having to tap this Fiery Islet probably 4 times is gonna be rough, maybe even 5 times. You will turn 2 Monastery Swiftspear. Pretty safe to guess that's what they drew this turn. Suspending another Rift Bolt, so Twitch didn't send out your live message? Well, that's a bummer. I don't know if there's any way to fix that, but whatever. I'm going to remand this Rift Bolt. Could certainly open us up to an Eidolon of the Great Revel, but at least we have a Lightning Bolt to insulate us from that now. Main phase Skullcracks us and suspends enough. Skewers us. Okay. Interesting. I want to play Baral. I don't think we can go to 6. We're in some rough shape. We're in some rough shape for sure. It's possible we're just dead here, although unlikely with one of the cards being Rift Bolt. Ooh, Searing Blaze. That's pretty bad. Suspends that Rift Bolt. Well, let's go ahead and put a counter on Pyromancer's Ascension. It's going to take a lot for us to... We have to go off here, and it's going to take a lot for that to happen. Very unlikely. Good evening, Tranquility's End. Yeah, so I was going to say Force of Negation is going to be the draw that we need here. And we did find one, so let's discard this Baral. We have no cards in hand after we force, but we will have a Pyromancer's Ascension. Opponent's last card is Lightning Bolt, so we need to force this Rift Bolt, and then we need them to brick on their draw step and their Sunbaked Canyon draw, which is a pretty big ask, and then we have to combo off with starting from no cards in hand, which is actually pretty doable if we can just find a cantrip. But It's pretty unlikely that we win here. So they did brick on their first draw step, but looks like Monastery Swiftspear will finish the job here. All right. Go to sideboarding. So something that I've been doing a lot is against decks with lightning bolts and searing blazes and John fatal pushes, I just board out the brawls and I tend to bring in Aria Flames instead. And this is a matchup where I like doing that. I also just like remand a decent amount here. I do like Lightning Axe. Let me just go ahead and lay it out the exact way I've been sideboarding in this matchup. Usually if you're going to cut a cantrip, you cut sleight of hand since that's the worst one. Oh, sorry. Wanted to bring in the force indication. Okay. Or sorry, not bring in the fourth force indication. I think 3 is about the number you want in this matchup. Okay, this is what I've been doing. Let's go and run it back. Of course, we get much better game 2 with access to three Dragon's Claws. Leading on Spirebuff Canal to play around a Goblin Guide or a Monastery Swiftspear on turn 1. Looks like there will be no such thing happening. I kind of feel like it's pretty unlikely our opponent kept a hand without a 1-mana creature and without an Eidolon, so I'm still going to hold up Lightning Bolt here. It's also nice that we don't, like, not shocking to play the Charter Course. We have a really good Aria Flame hand if we draw 1 more land, so it was of course it was tempting to try to Charter Course and hit the 3rd land drop, but Alright, so I'm really unsure what the contents of our opponent's hand looks like, but I guess we're just going to hope that they didn't bring in Wear Tear, which they very well may have, because they did see Pyromancer's Ascension game 1. Looks like they didn't have it end of turn there. Alright, we got to untap, so I'm a little confused by what's going on our opponent's side of things, but it feels like their hand may not have been a good 7-card hand. I'm thinking blue, Serum Visions. Force of Negation is, oh, this is, well, if we chart a course, we can draw into the Force of Negation and the Arclight Phoenix, but we can't actually hold up Force. But I guess that's fine. Still seems worth drawing to me. We're very unlikely to just die. Maybe it is a bunch of Searing Blazes. So I guess that could be a reason to not recur this Phoenix here. Yeah, but we're pretty unlikely to just die to burn spells, especially because our opponent did like have an unused mana earlier. They cast Skullcrack. If only they had Skullcracked in response to Aria Flame. Probably gonna get blazed here, yeah. Which does turn off. There was certainly a line we could have taken to abrade / lightning axe our own Arclight Phoenix to turn them on, but now that there's a Goblin Guide, we don't need to worry about that. Yeah, let's go ahead and Lightning Axe this Goblin Guide, bolt our opponent, and bolt our opponent. Easy peasy. So yeah, so boarding up Brawls for Aria Flames look great there. Another reason to play this many Aria Flames is this card is really strong against Death Shadow, making them gain 10 life to just kills Death Shadows, which has been pretty nice in my testing. Don't think that we're gonna shake it up anymore for game 3. This hand looks like a mulligan to me. It's kind of close. Like a Force of Negation isn't the worst thing to have access to, but we have a shock land. We don't have a way to kill a creature. We don't even have a second land guaranteed. So, I'm gonna go to 5 or 6. I'm gonna keep this hand. I'm gonna put back the lightning axe. We still don't have the second land, but if we find one in our first 2 turns, we do have a Charter Course to keep the ball rolling. And we do have lightning bolts to interact with creatures. Hey, good morning, Archmage. Long time no see. Glad to have you around today. There's a Thought Scour on top of our library. So I'm going to bolt the Swift Spear. That way we can probably use the Thought Scour in combination with the Goblin Guide to just do our best to hit land 3 for Aria of Flame. Yeah, I kind of figured that was the case. I missed the good old days. It was just me streaming and you in chat trying to help me figure things out. I did a fresh install of Magic Online with the new update, so I gotta redo all my stops. We did hit land number 3, which is nice, so let's go ahead and bolt the Goblin Guide. But only has 2 cards left in hand. Skewers us. And main phase Skullcracks us. So it is a little awkward to go down to 6 here, but there's actually no chance that we die next turn, because if our opponent uses their mana to crack their Sunbaked Canyon to draw a second burn spell, they can't actually cast both. I think I'm going to get back down the Aria Flame. It's possible we just have lethal next turn with a combination of... So like we can Manamorphose, then Finale of Promise, back Manamorphose and Charter Course, and then cast another spell. Alright, so Manamorphose. This is going to be the critical turn here. I don't think we want to try to hold up Remand. I think we need to go just a little deeper. So target Manamorphose, Charter Course. I think we just need to hit a third or second Manamorphose off of these 3 draws here. May need to hit like a Phoenix too. Oh, and we actually cast this in the wrong order. We should have cast the Manamorphose first to give us more outs to see a Phoenix to discard to Charter Course. Oh, and then we did draw the Phoenix, although we're going to still get to discard it. And now we're looking for a Force of Negation. And I'm going to leave the Phoenix back to block here. They're dead if we untap, and so I just don't want to die to a haste creature. We need them to double brick again. So there's a land. And then they are passing, it looks like. Awesome. Okay, so we should get this W. Let's just take our time to think about it. Our opponent, unless their hand is like deflecting palm, I don't think that we can lose now. But we should, I suppose, hold up Remand just if we can. And we can if we just Lightning Axe our own Phoenix and cast Charter Course. They have something. They have Deflecting Palm. Oh my gosh. Wow, I didn't think that this was actually going to happen, but I'm glad we played around it. I'm glad we played around it. Opponent is dead now. That was exciting. And I think that we're about to beat Burn without drawing Dragon's Claw. Pretty cool. Yeah, I was like pretty certain this wouldn't happen, but I think this shows the good habit of when you are in a very advantageous position, figuring out the one way you lose and preventing that from happening. That's just going to increase your overall win percentage a little bit, and that was just that very small amount of the time they have the unlikely card. Very exciting. And this hand is great. This hand looks very good. This deck is more of a Pyromancer's Ascension deck than it is an Arc-like Phoenix deck, but Arc-like Phoenix allows you to not have to play combo-ish cards like the Noxious Revival. You don't have to play more than 4 Lightning Bolts to consistently kill your opponent with Pyromancer's Ascension. You just get to churn through your deck, put like a bunch of Phoenixes in your yard, cast like 2 bolts, and deal like 18-21 to your opponent. It lets you have like a really flexible game plan, which is nice. Let's go and take this Lightning Bolt. Don't know what we're playing against here. The third land would not be bad, but with Manamorphose Charter-Course, we're pretty likely to hit it. If also wouldn't have hated a blue card. I think I will force an Inquisition here, so we can put our Pyromancer's Ascension into play. I feel like that's going to be more important than like taking that 2-for-1. Because, you know, they have like maybe 4 answers for this in their 75, and then, you know, a lot of those are Assassin's Trophy, which will give us lands. It does feel bad to force an Inquisition, but I do feel like it was the correct play. This is an interesting choice. I am going to play the Spiral of Canal because if we draw a Phoenix or a Finale of Promise, we're just going to want to be able to cast them. So we, of course, are giving up information by playing the Spiral of Canal there. Probably going to get Liliana'd here. Oh, it's a Wrenn and 6. Okay. I am going to cast the Bolt on the Wrenn. If we draw a Phoenix, we can attack the Wrenn to death, which seems valuable to me. Whereas we can't if we don't Bolt now. Remand. We're going to cycle Barrenmore. You know, if they don't find an answer to Ascension and they don't pressure us, we are going to eventually win with Pyromancer's Ascension. It will happen. Probably going to get Bloodbraid Elf. Okay, I'll remand Tarmogoyf. There's a Phoenix that can just kill Wrenn and 6, probably. Yeah, they're tapped out, so unless they have the Black Force, I think we're going to be good. Thoughtscour is a good draw. We're going to hope that that doesn't get discarded while we take the turn off to kill Wrenn and 6. This does seem worthwhile to me. With that Barrenmore especially. Second Tarmogoyf, so that's probably why they shocked last turn, just to play both. Scalding Tarn was not an ideal draw. Let's see what we find after Thoughtscour. A Lightning Bolt. There's also a Phoenix in our yard now. Sadly, we don't have one more spell to turn the Phoenix on. I guess we can block a Goyf and then bolt a Goyf, maybe. Although I don't know how likely it is we actually get to block with the Phoenix. Ooh, yeah. Abrupt Decaying the Pyromancer's Ascension, growing the Goyfs. I think that's gonna be game over. There's 6/7s now. Okay, rough game one. Rough game one. This is a matchup where I like to board out the brawls for Aria Flames, kind of a pretty straight swap. I like about 2 Force of Negations in this matchup from what I've decided. I do like the Lightning Axe as well. I kind of go back and forth on Blood Moons. I think they're probably going to be good on the play, and maybe we'll bring them out on the draw. Let's trim a sleight of hand into the Finale, promise for that. Finale can be... No, never mind. Finale is great in this matchup. What am I talking about? Yeah. I oftentimes trim Finale against blue-white control, so I was kind of in the mindset that we would want to trim it here because it's another grindy matchup. But I like trimming against blue-white control because it's so vulnerable to counterspells, while Jund can't interact with Finale very well. I'm gonna keep this hand. Put mulligans to 6, which of course bodes well for us. Okay, so there's a Pyromancer's Ascension and a Serum Visions, which will help turn on the Ascension. And we have a Force to protect it from a non-Abrupt Decay removal spell. So thankfully we've scryed the Ascension to the top, so there's no need to force a turn 1 discard spell. Looks like they don't have one anyways. So let's play the Ascension. I think the real question is, are we going to force a Renin 6 here? And I think the answer is no. I think the answer is no. We have a Serum Visions on top to put a counter on the Ascension. Scavenging Ooze. Well, we can't force that. Although it is rough to play around Ascension with Scavenging Ooze, because it's not an ability that checks again after the ability resolves. They can't, if they had a green up, they couldn't have eaten the Serum Visions to fizzle the ability. Yeah, exactly, Fairy. I'm gonna shock to hold up Remand here, and we're in excellent shape. Excellent shape. Ooze is certainly good against us, but I just think that it's going to be a little slow on the draw here, especially when we already have one counter. Ooh, Ashiok is an interesting inclusion here. Shutting off our graveyard is certainly relevant, but I do think the big thing is probably exiling our graveyard. So this turn we can cast a cantrip and then remand it to put counter on Pyromancer's Ascension, or we can chart a course and try to hit a second land, or a fourth land. I'm going to be kind of greedy and cast chart a course, and we got not rewarded for this. So, but these enchantments look great right now. We have Force up for Ashiok. So I'm going to put the Thoughtscour back and still try to hit a land with sleight of hand. Okay, I'm gonna take the well, Lightning Bolt answers Ooze. Yeah, I'll take a Lightning Bolt. Okay, sure. So let's force this. And we are gonna hopefully draw a land and then Bolt plus Blood Moon, but if not, just Blood Moon is, I think, gonna be good here. If you look closely, our opponent has no basic lands. And then we're probably going to board out the Blood Moons for game 3. It is like easier for our opponent to play around it on the play rather than being on the draw. But they did have 2 Bloodstained Mires, and looks like they just didn't respect it at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and lead with a Thought Scour. Yeah, if you look closely. If we hit a Phoenix here, oh, we did hit a Phoenix, but it's in our hand. But we just get to kill the ooze, deal 3 damage to our opponent. We're in commanding position. We can probably recur a Phoenix next turn. Opponent still has no basics if you, again, double check. Yeah. Okay, so on the draw for game 3, I think we're going to cut the Blood Moons and just put the Sleight of Hands back in. Our opponent's going to play scared around it for game 3. And let's go to game 3. Gonna keep this hand. I like that we have a Bolt for a potential Dark Confidant or Scavenging Ooze, and maybe even a Tarmogoyf if we don't Thought Scour ourselves and they don't have a fetch land or an Inquisition. They do have a Thoughtseize. He's probably going to lose our Aria of Flame here. We do, and that's going to make Goyfs really big. So I'll play an island here. If they play something that's boltable, we'll just bolt it next turn. They know about the bolt, so I feel like if they have a choice between Goyf and if they have a Wrenn and 6 or a Goyf versus a Scavenging Ooze or Dark Confidant, they'll play the one that we can't bolt anyways. Remand was a good draw. Let's hold that up. And then if we find Chart a Course, we do get to recur a Phoenix next turn. Maybe we get to remand into an enchantment too. Opponent is looking very vulnerable to Blood Moon, so no respect. I will remand this. They can't even necessarily cast it. Yeah, it looks like they're stuck on lands. I'm going to get my basic mountain here before Thought Scouring. Don't want to Thought Scour over it. And yeah, we can just hold up remand. If we had hit a Phoenix off that Thought Scour, I would have recurred it with the Manamorphose, but no need. Remand this again. And we drew a Phoenix. There's Chart a Course. Because we know we're going to get Inquisition, let's, instead of casting a Phoenix, just Chart a Course it away. If we draw a second Chart a Course, it'll be the ideal draw. Did not. Let's Thought Scour ourselves. And then I'll Serum Visions and try to scry an enchantment to the top. And there's an enchantment, and let's scry it to the top. See if our opponent has a Bolt for this Phoenix. They do not. Unfortunate for our opponent that they stumbled on lands here. I wonder what it is in their hand that was the payoff for them to keep a hand like this. Okay, they finally get to resolve Inquisition. I imagine they take Remand. Do we have a... we do have a Sleight of Hand in the graveyard. We do not have a Lightning Bolt for the Pyromancer's Ascension. The opponent didn't have Bolt last turn. It might just be better to cast Arclight Phoenix and hold up Bolt here. I think this feels a little bit better to me. I'm not sure what our opponent could do to beat this while they're missing land drops. Like, even if they Maelstrom Pulse here, we almost assuredly get to recur the Phoenixes. Yeah, I guess they were leaning hard on the discard spells, but I kind of feel like our opponent's hand maybe could have been a mulligan, because they didn't even have any 2-drop to play. Plague Engineer on Bird. Well, they're still dead to this Lightning Bolt. Oh, this is a Phoenix, not a Bird. Yeah, so bolt them down to 4, and again, if you look closely, we have 4 points of power in the air. So off to a quick 2-0 start against Burn and Jund, two tier 1 decks in the modern format. We've been talking a little bit about like what we believe tier 1 to be right now, and it's like Burn, Jund, Tron, Valakut to some extent, Urza for sure are kind of the big contenders. I feel like Death Shadow is good right now. Death Shadow is always a deck that you have to play pretty close to perfectly and have a lot of experience with to do well regardless of the format. But I do think it's in a decent shape right now, and one of the reasons why we have 3 Aria Flames in our sideboard is just respect for the Death Shadow matchup. Because Aria Flame is pretty dang good against Death Shadow, making them gain 10 life. I'm certainly not a foremost Death Shadow expert or anything, so I couldn't really give you a super informed opinion on the best shell for Shadow. I know I personally like the Mardu versions, and I also like the Jund Traverse versions, but I'm not the person to get the most Shadow insight out of, I don't think. Blood Moons are going to help a lot going forward. And we can flip a Phoenix next turn. Or recur a Phoenix, whatever. Yeah, so it usually falls in and out pretty hard. What would it take for it to fall off again? So, and there's a few different things that, make Shadow good and or bad, of course, just like any modern deck. One thing is it's usually pretty bad when like blue-white control and Jund are super duper popular because it is soft to those decks. It's also really soft to humans. So if those decks are if humans is popular, just tribal decks in general, I can see it being bad. There's a 3rd Manamorphose. Let's hold that one. And I'm gonna hold up Lightning Bolt for a possible Azusa here. That being said, like I think that now that Hogak is gone, almost any modern deck that's tier 1 or tier 2, if you commit the time to learning it and you become a master of it, be it Amulet Titan, Death Shadow, Burn, Jund, Tron, Urza, all of these decks really reward you for being an expert in the strategy, having a dynamic sideboard plan for the current meta, and playing your deck really well. I think if you can do that, you're going to have success with just about any strategy. Eladormi's Call. So kind of wish we could force this. They get Elvish Rejuvenator. Huh. That's this. So opponent's on a kind of an interesting take on this deck. Elvish Rejuvenator is cool because it can put a bounce land into play off the top. Huh, I haven't seen this. It's kind of cool. I'm into it. Okay, so Remand is a really good draw. I'm going to still hold the Manamorphose here in case we draw an Ascension. We're playing kind of the Delver game plan with Phoenix. That's one thing I like about this deck, is its game plan is pretty flexible. I'm not going to counter this, because if our opponent just has a Titan, they still get to cast it. This could certainly be a bait spell. They got an Amulet. Well, now that if they cast the Amulet, they can't cast Titan this turn, so I will go ahead and force this. That's 2 Amulet of Vigors down. 2 to go. Okay, so with the draw of Charter Course, we can try to spike another Phoenix, and then if we miss, we still get to hold up Remand. Did not spike a Phoenix, but that's okay. Remand should almost assuredly be a time walk. That's kind of, I think the big draw to playing this deck over just kind of a more traditional blue-red storm version is you just get to play a ton of interaction spells, and you have like a very resilient game plan with Phoenixes. And I find myself just killing with Pyromancer's Ascension pretty consistently. And you don't have to play like 8 rituals in your deck that are essentially not cards.